Once again, all up in the laboratory, all up in the classroom as usual. Mine Ascension here. You know, with one of the students as usual, man. We always building, always expanding. It's about constant ascension. It's about constant expansion. And once again, I'm always talking about the three keys, which is source knowledge, divine ascension, and infinite expansion. So, you know, my brother here, as usual, you know, I'm always here to sharpen the mind and to accept and express answers, accept the questions, give as much answers as I can, and basically just do what we do best, brother. You know?
All right.
Let's talk about it.
Brother Lavelle right here. All right, so tell me about the guy that you was talking about, the original Jesus.
Apollonius of TYANA, Apollonius of TYANA. I mean, basically, you know, when we do our own research and our own study, we always find out that there's always lies mixed into the truth.
Right.
And unfortunately today, our mindset is based off pure belief. Okay. We have this thing of using belief and ego as the foundation to filter information, which is our captivity, because your belief and your ego is your captivity on this third dimensional plane. It keeps you within this box of wanting to have faith, wanting to believe. I don't believe that. My grandma didn't tell me that. Blah. I didn't grow up like that. You know, all of these limitations that keep you within a box, which also keeps you ignorant, because knowledge is infinite. So if knowledge is infinite, how the hell do you obtain infinite knowledge or expand through infinite knowledge by being in a box of belief and ego? So Apollonius of TYANA was a black man who was from the area of TYANA, who also studied the ancient mystery systems just as other Greeks did, so on and so forth. The only difference is he was the one that had dominant melanin in him. Right. So therefore, a lot of things came much more easier to him. Right. He was able to practice and apply the knowledges with much more ease. And to this very day, he is constantly compared to Jesus by other European scholars, but yet nobody that I know of, from black Christian to white Christian, ever speaks of his name or even knows he ever existed. Right. When you do read the story of Apollonius of TYANA, I mean, for God's sakes, it's like one and the same of so-called Jesus. The miracles he performed, the disciples that followed him, the healing miracles that he did, so on and so forth. So what we're talking about is a black man that existed during about 100 AD times. And a man that applied the sciences and knowledges that were learned and obtained through Gnostics, through the Egyptians, so on and so forth, and began to go around Europe where he was from, which was certain places like Rome and so forth, and begin to practice these sciences, therefore healing people and obtaining or earning this title as anointed, Christ, the healer, so on and so forth, the miracle worker, so on and so forth. Therefore, this man who was a real man was used to base and to construct this gravitation that we refer to as Jesus Christ today. Okay. So that's Apollonius of TYANA in a nutshell. Anybody can type him in and find his story and continue to dig even more than I did and continue to pull strings. I just actually came across information where a scholar was talking about how his story is literally 4 times longer than many other so-called ancient biographies of certain prophets and certain sages and so forth. So what are we really talking? We're talking about there is so much information on this black man right. that it's tedious to even go through. And what are we also saying? There's so much information on this black man that you can literally pick through and piece what you want and what you choose to construct the illusion that we call Jesus Christ.
Right.
So that's that in a nutshell, basically, you know.
So earlier we was talking about how we need to police our neighborhood when we have like foreigners come through.
Okay, that's what you mean. All right.
Yeah. Like these Mormons that you was talking about.
Oh man.
so like black people, it's like our nature to be accepting, you know, of like other cultures. But notice how when we go to another person's neighborhood, another culture's neighborhood, they look at us up and down like, what are you doing here?
Yep.
You go to the Asian neighborhood, They look over their shoulder. You know, we go into their stores. They looking at the security camera. White people, we go into their neighborhood. You know, they walking up to us, just like you said. We went to Howard Beach.
Yep.
As soon as you go to Howard Beach,
yeah, you lost, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a problem, buddy? Can I help you, buddy? You know, it's bottom line. Being the true and only humans on this planet means that we are the ones that hold and possess a true hospitality. Okay. We are the ones that are always open arms to any and everybody that comes into our presence. This is just who we are, as I was explaining to you a little bit earlier. Most black households, no matter how poor, no matter whether they're in the ghetto projects, rich, whatever the hell, have a certain room in that house that even the people that live there can't go in, because that specific room is preserved for guests. Now, we can call it today as fronting, as I used to say, well, not say to my mother, but think of my mother, because my mother, I owe a lot to my mother, but she's a bougie. She's one of those bougie. You know what she's like? She's like the mother from Everybody Hates Chris. You know what I'm saying? Okay, she'll whoop your ass in a minute, but when white people come around, oh boy, you know, you swear she's a princess from the European dynasty of whatever the case is. But the fact of the matter is that I'm making that we had a natural hospitality, home inviting aspect in nature to ourselves because we are the true humans. We possess the true humanity. So therefore, we always had an open arm against us towards invaders that will come into our lands. Like I also mentioned earlier, if you read the diaries of Christopher Columbus or even the journals of his son, he states many times how easy it is to enslave these indigenous people. And as he wrote to the Queen of England, he told her, he said, it will be easy and I will bring you slaves back. And since I'm speaking on that, before I even go even further into the slave trade, he also writes, or I believe it was his son's journal, where he writes how every time they came, because remember, Christopher Columbus did not come to America per se. He came to the islands, which he mistitled the West Indian Islands, because he always thought he was in India. So therefore, when he came to these shores, the indigenous people of them shores, like the Arawakians, like the TYANOs, so on and so forth, the indigenous people of them shores always presented him not only with open arms, but with bundles of gold. Because gold was so plentiful over the earth. And not only that, remember, we as indigenous people did not harbor things. We did not look at things to accumulate and to sit on it and to kill you for it. You know, we gave things out. Even the story of Mansa Musa, he threw off the entire Eastern Hemisphere economy by just giving out tons of gold everywhere he went. And by uplifting every nation, he went to the point where he toppled the economy itself. Because remember, certain economies, or especially the recessive economy, and by the way, remember, Mansa Musa is not ancient. Mansa Musa is only about 700 years ago. So these economies were still based on the haves and the have-nots. Just like today's economies is based off the poor and the rich. It's not based off everybody being rich, because if everybody was rich, then what the hell would rich be? You see what I'm saying? That's like if every woman is beautiful, then what is beauty? In order to be beautiful, I have to see something ugly to compare to beauty to call it beauty. You see? So essentially, we have something in us as 6 to 22 strands, 7 to 9 ether follicle people that we can call a soul, we can call humanity, that always projects. It's if you ever notice, black people love to project humanity on other people. Oh, they're humans like us. Oh, they're just people. Oh, everybody, you know, we always do that, while they are always trying to project justifications of their inhumane actions. So once again, it's the exact polar opposite. So yes, we possess a humanity and a hospitality that goes far beyond other so-called races, and definitely far beyond this recessive. So absolutely, brother. And we have to be very wary of this nature of ours, because it is this nature that has caused and sustained our current captivity, and also our past ancient, or excuse me, not say ancient, or our past captivities over the last few hundred years to 1,000 years. So that's that.
Yeah, they coming into our neighborhoods making money off of us. You know, they wouldn't allow us to come into
No. And even if they allowed you to come in their neighborhood and set up shop, it would be a joke, because nobody would go in there. And you would be out of business in months. You see what I'm saying? So once again, if we truly and genuinely, not just talking black power bullshit, not just RBG, not just screaming shit, not just making posts, if we truly genuinely want to stop this nonsense, we must always do the opposite of what we have been doing for decades, and we must always question the people that are in our faces and presence in neighborhoods and question their intentions for being there. If you are a Chinese man that set up shop where I am, the same way I come and get you your trash food that you tell me you do not eat, the same way you should come across the street and get a haircut from a black barbershop. The same way that you should go into Jamaican Flavors and go get a drink or go get a patty. Why are you not doing any of this? They will never, ever step one foot in any establishment you have, but all day long, all week long, all month long, all year long, you are feeding and eating with them and feeding your children their trash.
It's fucked up,
so it's not, I don't use the term fucked up. What I always project is intelligence over belief. And once again, let's think about where this comes from. This comes from our belief that number